Hello and welcome to Oddities Round 15. This week we're going to look at all the videos, all the clips that I found that were extremely odd. Thank you for stopping by. In this first clip you can see two GWS players, I think it's Himmelberg and Lockie Ash. They sort of miscommunicate and think either one of them is going to go for the ball. They don't, and then James Rowbottom comes through and says thank you very much. Papley ends up kicking a goal. I felt like this was a pretty telling point in the game where the Giants almost seemed to give up, and from here on out it was just purely Sydney Swans. In the fourth quarter, when the game's already completely done, the Brisbane Lions are absolutely spanking Port Adelaide. Joe Danaher marks on the 50-metre arc, and of course he goes through and kicks the goal. But wait, is this the same umpire that said Ben Keays' goal wasn't a goal last year? I don't know if it is, but he looks very familiar to me. I'm not entirely sure. But like, what is this bloke doing? It's clearly gone through for a goal. He even asked the umpires, did it go through for a goal? Because he has no idea. He actually asked both the boundary umpires and the field umpire, and you can just see the field umpire's face. He's like, really? Like, at this point of the game, when they're 70 points up, and you're asking this question now? Like, I just want to go home, bro. It's obviously paid a goal in probably one of the fastest arc reviews you'll see. It's clearly gone through for a goal and it's missing the pads by an absolute country mile. If this is the same bloke from the Ben Keays incident, come on, just give someone else a shot, surely. I felt like this was just the absolute definition of Port's day. Brisbane Lions obviously spanking him at this point, so a goal means nothing at this point. But you can see that Bergman has this mark absolutely lined up, cleaned up. It's totally his. And for some reason, Radigalia comes through to spoil, or I think he tries to mark it himself. In doing so, he's taken out his teammate and lost the mark, and Rayner says thank you very much and kicks the goal. I remember saying it at work when the Port fans were saying Radigalia is really going to help the back line of Port, but he is just the decisions he makes are just truly bizarre, and it astonishes me how he repeatedly gets games in the seniors when he puts up efforts like this. Again, I don't know what I'm talking about. That was Bailey that kicked the goal, not Rayner. Okay, moving on to the next clip, you can see that Jeremy Cameron marks the ball just inside the 50-metre arc and later goes back to kick the goal and the siren goes. Now, BT's very confused because the umpire has his hands up and he assumes that means it's play on. He's actually signalling that time has ended, that's the end of the quarter. But that's not the controversy here because Jeremy Cameron actually does go off his mark. But I think the reason why it wasn't called play on and this cannot be reviewed is because the field umpire is actually standing at 90 degrees to where it is. So from there, it would be very hard to see if Jeremy Cameron is over the mark. The camera angle is obviously right behind so we can see it on the screen, but from where the umpire is, the field umpire, I don't think he was able to see it. So therefore he thinks it's a legal kick and it goes through for a goal. I actually think it probably should have been classed as play on because the umpires, they always say, you always usually have a field umpire that comes up and says you have to kick over the man on the mark, and he didn't do that. So I think it should have been play on, and I don't think that should have been paid a goal. What do you think? A big thank you to Orange Wolfie Shorts for sending this clip through. You can see that the Seagulls have run rampant at the MCG. I feel like the Seagulls almost outnumbered the fans there watching that night. Only 28,000. Got to do better than that, guys. How good was this individual effort by Durham here? He just continually gets the ball going forward. He won't get credited with a goal or a goal assist for this, but this goal was purely because of his effort inside the midfield. He just kept going forward. He only gets the one handball possession for that, but he had several touches on it and eventually results in a Essendon goal. So very well done to him. He was the best on that night in my opinion. In the fourth quarter, when North were making a bit of a comeback, you can see Langdon receives the ball inside, well, just outside the forward 50, and he's going to put the ball inside the 50 to have a set shot at goal. But Aiden Core comes through with a smother, and it's quite spectacular in my opinion because he's put his body on the line, and also knowing that he could have possibly injured Langdon or given away a free, but he's executed this perfectly and stopped the inside 50. That's my defensive play of the week. Watching this one live, I totally thought this was a throw, but maybe the umpire knew more than me because he was right there. He was very close. But watching the replay, this is a clear throw by Zach Merritt. He's not got the second hand to that ball, and just how quick it was as well. There's almost no way he could have got that off as a handball. The umpire didn't pay it, and it resulted in an Essendon goal, just as the West Coast Eagles were challenging and making a comeback. I feel like this is a pretty massive error by the umpire, especially when they were so close. But I guess for the theatrics, you just call play on. I'm not entirely sure why the umpire hasn't paid a 50-metre penalty for this, because you can clearly see it's a Freo home game. This would have been an easy 50-metre penalty. Do you reckon Switkowski flopped to the ground, or did the Gold Coast defender actually put him down to the ground? It's probably a bit of both. Switkowski was probably playing for the 50-metre penalty. The umpire didn't pay it, but I've seen less being given a 50-metre penalty for this, so I felt like that should have been paid. What do you think? Is anyone able to explain the ruling around this one a little bit better for me? Because I feel like Harry Sheezel had plenty of time to dispose of the ball. He didn't. And as he's tackled by Langdon, he gets spun almost 360 degrees and the ball comes loose. But the umpire says that the ball's been knocked out in the tackle. But I feel like Sheezel's had plenty of time to dispose of the ball and he didn't. Therefore, and the ball comes out, I feel like that has to be holding the ball, right? Can anyone explain that a little bit better to me? Because this one I actually don't understand why that wasn't paid. I guess Lachie Neale was probably just tired in this instant and he's just had a brain fart. But in this tackle where Alir holds him up, Lachie Neale clearly picks the ball up and tries to have it one hand over the line to signal the throw-in. And I guess, like I said last week, I do like to see these paid because you can't use the boundary as a safety net. And the umpires actually paid insufficient intent to keep this in, which is absolutely the correct call in my opinion. I just would like to see this paid when it's in a tackle where they've had prior to get rid of it. Pay insufficient intent or holding the ball. But very well done to the umpire. I agree with this decision. This is definitely free in my opinion, where Finlayson's got his arms around Harris Andrews, but Harris Andrews just has to absolutely make sure that the umpire sees this, and he just, as he falls down to the ground, he sort of jumps out with his arms out, which to me looks quite hilarious. As Dangerfield kicks the ball towards their forward 50, the ball bounces on the ground, but Wiedering's good enough to get the ball and do a little kill basketball move around his back, and I don't know, I just thought it was pretty interesting. Well done to him. Pretty good for a big fella. Just the lack of communication between the Geelong defenders just caused this ball to get to ground, and it only took two Carlton forwards to go back and forth, a little 1-2, and then go through and kick a goal when there was up to 4 defenders there at one point. Just shows you the differences between the two clubs of where they're at in this season. Curtis did hold on to the tackle a little bit long and his teammates came in to remonstrate, and you can see that he actually pushes Clary with an open hand in my opinion. The umpires called this a prohibited contact free, but you can see the delay in when he's actually hit him to when Clary actually starts to fall down. It clearly hasn't pushed him that hard, he just knows the umpire's watching and milks a free kick. May got a fine for that. We've been screaming out for it for so long. The AFL have actually fined someone for staging, and I am so thankful for this. You can see that this is a totally legal tackle, but May tries to trick the umpire into paying a dangerous tackle by holding his head, like he's just slammed his head on the deck, which you can see in the replay he hasn't. The umpire falls for it and pays a dangerous tackle, a free kick to Melbourne, but thankfully the MRO have stepped in and said, no, you're not allowed to do that, that is a fine. Finally, they might actually be doing something about staging. You got to feel for the players sometimes, because so many times you see players run through for this exact same situation and the umpire doesn't pay anything. But for some reason, I guess because he hesitated, he didn't run the ball through immediately, that he did have the chance to kick it, which technically I do agree with, but then you see it also, the umpires say, no, there's a player within 3 metres, the immediate vicinity, which there was, and then it's not insufficient or deliberate. So, I don't know, I'm really confused around this. Can anyone tell me if this is actually the right call or not? I think it should have just been paid a behind, in my opinion. They say you'll never forget your first AFL goal, but Wealthy hands this ball off to try and trick the West Coast Eagles defenders, and then Caddy comes through and kicks a pretty good goal off his left boot. How's that for your first snag? As Cripps kicks the ball inside the forward 50 towards the goal line, I felt like Williams could have gone at this ball a little bit harder. I don't know if he thought Harry Mackay was going to go for it, but he looked like he hesitated a little bit and then in the end gets called for holding the ball because he does jump on it in the end. But as a small forward, this is your bread and butter. The ball comes down to ground, attack it, get it, and then he could have either handballed it or take a shot at goal, but felt like he hesitated a little bit too long and paid the ultimate price. I didn't actually record the earlier incident, but there was something very similar but in the opposite direction where Brisbane took a mark and one of the Port defenders tried to slap the ball out as he was sort of going to go for the kick. And the umpire paid a 50-metre penalty. And then this exact same thing happened where Charlie Cameron is actually behind Aliir and he tries to smack the ball out as he goes for a kick, but it's not 50. I mean, look at the score, it's not going to change the outcome, but why is it 50 for one but 50 not for the other? Inconsistent yet again. As Sweet marks the ball, he kicks inside the forward 50 and it ends up being with Ollie Lord, and for such a big fella to kick this off balance and go through for a goal, this was pretty awesome and probably didn't get the reaction that it deserved. I mean, depending on the scoreline and also who's commentating, especially seeming the Orange team aren't playing, probably was a little bit lackluster call in my opinion for such a goal. Go the pair, I guess. Kelly Underwood 2024. Again, I thought this was a free kick gone missing. As Kemp gets the ball, he tries to evade Graham Myers and he does fall down to the ground, he does slip and he doesn't try to dispose of the ball at all, but the umpire calls the ball up. And I'm with Graham Myers here. I don't know how this wasn't a free kick. The umpire says he slipped. I don't care if he slips or not. He made no genuine attempt to get rid of the ball and he also tried to evade the defender. That's a free kick every day of the week, in my opinion. After Jimby gets a free kick, Liam Ryan decides to play on, take the advantage, but he actually runs the wrong way and he's probably thinking, why am I so clear? I'm going to go for a goal, but then luckily he spots a teammate who points the other way and says, no, we're going the other way. All of this within the first 10 seconds of the game. Ouch. I love how strong and confident Rayner was in this play. He just pushes two Port defenders off like absolutely nothing and goes through and kicks the ball inside the forward 50. You just gotta love the brute strength. As Josh Tracy is getting the ball inside the forward 50, he just absolutely bodies Sam Collins, which is no easy feat. And then he knows he's going to be out of this next play, so he just takes out another Gold Coast player. Well done to him. I guess if you can't make it, just use your body as a battering ram and take out their best defender. Well done to him. It actually ends up being a result of a point, which is possibly a contender for point of the year. Team point of the year, I guess. Someone's probably going to cop a fine for this, but I just thought the audio of the umpire falling down was hilarious. The noise he made was just weird. It sounded like something out of Elder Scrolls or something. Anyway, that's it for this week. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video next time. Let me know if you still like this format that I'm trying out, or it's a little bit more talkative, a little bit more fun. Let me know in the comments below. Appreciate it.
46 point.